Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barbarian's Kitchen. Today we'll be cooking up a really cool looking EMPEDC relative. Here's one I made earlier. Alright folks, I'm going to show you how to stonewash and acid etch a blade today. It's pretty easy. I'm going to show you how to do it with some of the right equipment, which isn't to say it's expensive. I mean, you can get a vibratory tumbler from Harbor Freight for well under $100, I believe. I mean, it's been a few years. You'll have to check and make sure that you can afford one, but they're really not bad. If you can afford these fancy knives, you can probably afford to spend $50 or $75 on a tumbler. But if you don't have a tumbler and you're just trying to try this out on a cheap knife or something, you can do this also with a plastic pickle jar or even a peanut butter jar. If you're dealing with a smaller blade, that will work fine, and some gravel out of the driveway. The gravel's not as good as ceramic media because it's not as hard, so it's going to have a tougher time scratching up M390 or some of those harder steels, but it'll work fine on your Nitro Vs and your 14C28Ns and stuff like that. Maybe even do fine on S35 and S30. Just might take a little longer, but if you got some, you got $100 kicking around, buy yourself a vibratory tumbler and some ceramic media. It's worth it, especially if you're balls deep into modifying and repairing knives. You won't regret that, I promise. Today I'm going to be working on this EMPEDC relative. I'll put pictures or video of that here because I didn't think to film this before I started this project, so it's already modified at this point. I'm going to take this, I'm going to do some blurple anodizing, I'm going to stonewash and acid etch the blade, and I'm going to make all the hardware bronze. I think that'll look nice with the purple. So I'm going to go out to the shop now and I will start working on that blade. Okay, now that I've got it blasted so I'm sure it's nice and clean and it's smoothed out that belt satin just a little bit, I'm going to dip it in ferric chloride. This is a 1-to-1 with water. Now this is nasty shit, so make sure you wear gloves and don't splash it in your eyes. You're just gonna leave it in there for 10, 20, 30 seconds, then pull it up and check the color until it's where you want it. I think we can go a little darker than that though.
Approximately 10 hours later.
This is MagnaCut, so it's pretty corrosion resistant. It's gonna take a lot longer. A lot of your steels that are not quite as corrosion resistant as MagnaCut they'll darken way faster, so you got to be careful. Okay, we got a pretty nice dark layer on there, so I'm going to go ahead and check this. I'm going to rinse it off. This is just water. I'm using a titanium wire, by the way, but it's not absolutely critical. But if you use a steel wire, they'll rust really fast. And then I guess that could leave some rust stains on your blade, so it's not a huge deal, but something, like if you got titanium wire laying around, go ahead and use that. Take this out in the sun. If you got a little bit of an uneven spot, sometimes you can just rub it out with your thumb, wet thumb. But there is a little bit of a dark stain there, probably where I pulled it out and held it too long with a drop sitting there collecting. That will probably stonewash out and we won't notice it, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll with this. Okay, now into the nasty ass stonewasher with a bunch of gross ceramic media. And the reason it's all slimy is because I use WD-40. It prevents any rust from happening in there. Now I'm just gonna let that run for a while.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
Alright, this is the machine I use. It's nothing fancy, it's a Jesverty, Jesverty, 120 volt model that I got on Amazon. They're like 80 bucks. You can get some lower voltage ones, but if you want to be able to do more of the full color range of anodizing on titanium, you're going to need that higher voltage, so I'd recommend you just pay the extra and get that. Anodizing is not super hard on titanium, it's a lot more involved with aluminum. I haven't got into that yet, but this is just distilled water with a little bit of baking soda poured in it. You're going to want a non-reactive metal like some tin foil, or in my case I've been using this titanium drinking straw. I just stick it in there and I clip it to the side to keep it out of the way. Clip your ground lead to your straw or tin foil or whatever you're using, and then your positive lead goes on whatever you're anodizing. I usually put a little titanium wire on there to hang my parts in. And it doesn't take hardly any time at all. It takes a little longer the bigger the surface area you're dealing with, but with something like this, here I'll show you real close before. Plain titanium. very clearly bronzed now. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, unfortunately, because it's so small. But it really is that easy. As long as you clean things up really well beforehand, dump them in some Wink rust remover, and then clean them off with rubbing alcohol before you put them in. They will anodize like that. My scales at first were pretty slow, but then I dipped them in Wink rust remover and washed them off with alcohol, tried again. They changed pretty much instantly. So if you're having trouble with that, make sure you've got the positive lead on the part you're anodizing. Make sure that you do not touch the ground with the part or the wire or the lead, the positive lead. Start low and go high. You can always go higher to change the color, but you can't go back. Once you've passed a color, you can't go back there without using Wink rust remover or sanding it to remove the oxide layer and starting over. Better to go to miss low and then go high. Easy, there's nothing really to it. Get you a power supply, some baking soda, some titanium wire, and even tinfoil. You don't need the straw, you could just use tinfoil. That's really all you need. Super easy. Alright, let's check up on it. Oh, it's fun trying to find it. Actually, let me put a glove on. Okay. Now, it's usually not sharp after it's been in the tumbler, but still be careful if you get a tumbler, because you don't want to cut yourself. Ew, nasty. This was nice and clean, and then I let my wife's cousin put her reel mower parts in here. This old vintage lawnmower she was restoring, and it was nasty, and it made all of my freshly washed media disgusting. I'm not really happy with how even this looks yet, so I'm going to throw it in for another few minutes. And while I'm at it, I also just anodized these scales. I should have done a video on that too, but they're kind of a cool iridescent blurple color. And I did the backspacer and clip in bronze and also the hardware in bronze. These are pretty commonly scratched up just from carrying in normal use, so I'm going to throw these in the Stonewasher too to give me a little bit of cover when I scratch them, inevitably. So by the time these are done, maybe this blade will be where I like it. Just gonna throw that back together. Check back in a bit. Alright, let's see what it looks like. There's the blade. And the clip. Now I gotta rinse all these off and see what we've got. Just night will be the night that I will fall for you. Over again. Get out of my grind. Soap, 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 soap. You gotta have this cleaner than a church outhouse. That's gonna look really cool in the sun, I bet. Okay, and this is what we ended up with. It's a pretty heavy Stonewash, but I'm into that. That's kind of what I prefer. I like to look pretty rough, that way I don't have to worry about babying it. I don't want my scratches to show up and rubs from my pocket and carrying it and all that. And here's our blade. Pretty cool, pretty good acid etch there. I've still got a little bit of that belt set, and my sandblast cabinet is just a little too weak. My compressor's pretty weak, and my beads that I have in there are really fine, so not great for removing big heavy scratches like that. If you really wanted to, you could get those out. Just take longer or some coarser media, but I don't really care. I just wanted to give it a little easier time. Also gives you a nice clean surface to work with when you're etching. If you have any dirty, nasty spots, even if you think you got it clean, you might not have, and you'll have a spot that's not as etched as the rest, and it'll stick out. This looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. And then, I didn't show this on camera, but my backspacer is also bronzed. And what did I do with my clip? And there's the clip. It's also stonewashed because it's going to be exposed and might get scratched. The backspacer I did the stonewash because I didn't think about it, to be honest, but it's probably not. It's probably going to be fine. I also anodized all of the hardware bronze, the pivot collars and the screws. I'm going to go ahead and throw this back together and give you a final look. That looks pretty cool, huh? Bronze on there. Sick. That's what we got. I know some of you are going to be saying, man, you ruined that knife, and you know, fair enough. That's all I got to say about that. I think it looks badass though. I'm going to put a little oil on this blade. I don't think it'll rust anymore. This is MagnaCut, but it doesn't hurt to put a little oil on there anyway. It also keeps every single fingerprint from showing up if it's already got a light coat of oil. You're going to put a little bit on and then kind of wipe it mostly off, but it'll soak in a bit, so that will help things, I believe. Don't cut yourself, but if you just got this out of the Stonewasher, it's going to be dull anyway. Probably should have just oiled this up before I put it together. Oh well. And again, this isn't strictly necessary either. Do not get it on the lock face though. I'm just going around making sure it's all got a little bit of oil so it's all the same color. And now I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe down the excess. Actually, let me get a microfiber knife towel. You might even want to resharpen this before you put it back together. Depending on the sharpening system you use, it can sometimes be easier to just sharpen a loose blade. And that's the finished product. Really not a hard thing, it just takes some time. It takes I don't know, $150 worth of equipment to do it right, but you can anodize with 9-volt batteries connected together to get the voltage you want in series. You don't have to have that fancy machine. You can stonewash with a plastic jar full of gravel. You don't have to have a tumbler. And you'll get different finishes depending on the size of the media or gravel in this case that you use, but that's a pretty cool look right there. Just with gravel out of the driveway and a plastic jug in the dryer. So this is something anybody could do if they really wanted to. And I think it looks really cool, and nobody else has an EMP-EDC relative like mine. So I'm pretty happy with that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this, even if this wasn't news to you. Some of you more advanced tinkerers may have already known all this, but hope you had at least some fun watching. And I appreciate your time. Like and subscribe, that would help me a lot, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye!